Hello and welcome to GeekAtPlay Studio Tutorials. In this tutorials, we'll look at render cows and network rendering. So let's begin first to see how we can access. By right-clicking or access your render options, you'll notice you have it right here, special sections called render. And we also have it internal, which is using internal engines. We have it external option to use to render, and we have an option as we're using external, use a network for external render. As well, if we select the external, we have the ability to access and modify our network's render for the render cows. We also have different options to use the render node network that is slightly different from render cows. It's using a more dedicated machines on render node, and we won't look on this in this tutorial. So what we're going to look at is how to set up with a license that came with your Vue 9 Extreme or Vue 9 Infinity. If you need additional information about render networks and render node setup, you can contact us at the GeekAtPlay.com. So let's go ahead right here and say how we can set up our network. The one, your Infinity or Extreme, come with a free 5 license of render cows, render nodes. So it's meaning you can have it up to 5 machines. It is include your main machine if you install render cow on your machine, but overall it's a 5 cows can be run and render network. So it's mean if you have it one machine and it's take about 5 hours to render, with using 5 render cows network on same power machine, you can decrease time of render about 5 times. Okay, let's go ahead and see how we can end render nodes. So by default, if you go on the render cows back, you'll notice right here you have your Vue 9 license, which come with the X5 render cows. If you purchase and install extra, right here example, I have a 20 additional cows, so total is give me 25. Again, this is 20. It was added after as additional cows. So let's go ahead, and if we click example on add, you notice right here where you're putting your serial number, and click OK if you need register additional cows. The render cows can be purchased online or directly from Eon software. So here's one way. To access personally, access render cows, I'm using remote desktop. An example right here for the Windows. I prefer access this way, at least when I'm installing, and normally they just run and it's set in automatic mode. So let's go ahead, connect to one of the node I have it, and we'll go perform installation through that. Okay, so right here is my node. Also what I did it, I set my installation directory for the Vue Extreme shareable through the network, so I can access from my nodes and perform installations. So right here on my machine, I have access to my Vue 9 Extreme, and we need run render cow setup. Sometimes you may don't have enough rights on this machine, so be sure you enable user sharing, or if you right click, you can run as administrator with full rights. But before you do this, if you had previously installed other render nodes like Vue 8, 9 or other ones previously, be sure you uninstall them, or you can run them in parallel as long as they are running on different ports. To also verify if they're still running, you can just click, and you can notice right here I have an icon that's showing me one render cow running. So if I want to reinstall it or otherwise, I want to be sure it is exit. So you maybe have it like example right now. I'll show you. If I try to run at this point my render cow setup, okay, you'll notice that will give me error actually, because my render cow already running at this point. Okay, so let's go ahead next, agree. Okay, it's passing, and when it's trying to install over on this point right here, it says, oops, you have an error. And error is not error application error, because I have this already running. So it's kind of shared memory. Just be sure you don't have any application running, or you uninstall some versions you don't want to use it. Okay, so after you stop task, you just verified you don't have any running render covers or other ones. We're ready to execute in normal time. If you just double time click on render stop cows, it will perform. But how I said before, you maybe want to run as administrator if you don't have significant rights or some other options may be enabled. Also at this point, be sure your firewall is allowed to connect as well. In my cases, because it's an internal network behind the firewall, so I actually disable firewall in this case, so I know it won't have any problem. So you notice right now it's installing without any problems. When you install first time, it's ask launch the program. Yes, I want launch on the beginning. Also, it says if I want to after startup. Yes, I do want startup, but I do not need any 32-bit versions. You may want to install and set on a different port. If you have it, other computers may be running with 32-bit, but currently it's only 64. So I'll click OK, and render cow will start right here. So you can notice we have it. We can go inside the settings. We can see which port we're using, and because it's just single, I will leave it as default. Okay, couple things. Okay, let me close this one. Sometimes, and we'll see if the update will happen, but when you're going to update through your system, it maybe says update failed, and the reason is why, because your render cow maybe need to run, or at least to that time, in administrative mode. So in this case, you actually want to go ahead, shut down the render cow at this point. Okay, at least first one is going to update. Okay, now we're going inside and run again. Okay, but at this point I want to run as administrator, so I just launch and render cows run as administrator. So in this case, if I'm going inside the view and view decide to update my render cow remotely, it will run without error. Okay, so we open our network for editing, and you notice right here we already I kind of used before, so it's pop-up. Other case, you can enable after discovering. However, this is very nice option to look through all your network if you don't know address or anything, but I do not recommend actually using this. It will take additional network kind of traffic increasing, and it's maybe some take longer time. So if you know the address or host name for yours, it will accept host name or IPs. You just go ahead, click on add, and put it by name or IP in this case, and you can add it as well. If you notice, you have a special port that you can specify what you want to use it if you have a different ports set for those machines. So this is probably a better way. But if you don't know name, or you like on maybe some networking agency or somewhere, and some machines maybe have installed, you don't know them if they're available or not, you probably want to run after discover. Also notice right here it's have it my status, currently it's idle waiting, and it's have it my build. So it's a build for the application. If it's have it new, it will start updating. You may notice how I said before, if it start updating and it's failed, probably your render cows on your remote desktop does not run in the admin mode, so you don't need run all the time. But for the okay, right here, so on this one, but be sure at least in time when you update it's run in admin mode, and you won't have it failed. That's what I found out that was related as well. Right here we can save list of the nodes and load it, so it will have it save time for you. If you have it like hundreds or 20 or 15 different nodes, you can save them and you can just preload it as well. You can add remove additional nodes to your list. Okay, right here we can say it's only one idle and not connecting, so it's good. I'll close at this point. Okay, and now when I'm start rendering, it will render on network. Notice I send right here said render off screen. Okay, we can also says render on screen, and in this case we can enable render on network when you render on screen. This is new options, and it will utilize network, and it's what actually I want to show you when we start doing this. So now when you start rendering on screen, yeah, like your normal, and you have it render nodes, those nodes will pop up in a time when you render and help you to perform this. So let's click OK, and what I want to do, it's loading some atmosphere, and let's load something heavy. The reasons why, if we do very fast, the system won't have enough time to kick in. So we'll say ultra, I'll set bigger size. Okay, and again, we can exit on a middle. So when we perform, let's click OK. Actually, right here, I'm going to pop up our quality way high. Again, I'm just needed to increase, and let's maybe just add a bunch of objects. Okay, we'll also take all these objects and just set them on a high reflective mirror. So again, this is just take a long time to render. An example right here, I'm start rendering. Well, it's kind of going fast, but you will notice also, okay, I may need it pop-up quality even higher than that, so we can, but right here on the bottom, you can see other nodes start kind of kick in to render. So if you have a longer time, you will see how the second node, or if you have more than one nodes, they will start render, and they start render from the bottom when you original from the top, so you can see how the network kick in at that time. Okay, so right here, this is my main node, or this machine is rendering right now, and currently you can see on a network, if you're monitoring, you can see it's going to negotiation, send files. Again, it was start rendering, and right here on the bottom you can see that my other node start kicking in. So right now I'm rendering only on two node, and I'm rendering on a screen. And before, you need render off screen, so you need to remove some anti-aliasing and some other options. So now right here, top is render on main machine, and bottom would render on my remote node. So in this case, when you even render on screen, and you have, like, if I run all my 25 nodes, they will be quite a bit fast even on a very high settings. It does increase the speed, and it's actually work quite a bit with a network with bucketing and all this stuff was happening. Okay, so here's a couple nodes, still we kind of waiting on this render. Couple points. One, when you install and if you have it more than 5 license of render cows, you want to go inside the help and from there install. Next, use it remote desktop or directly access from your node machine and install render cows from there. Also, when you set up and if you have updates for your software, be sure you render cow on a network drive, run at least for that time in administrative mode so it can update itself without problem. And if your network cannot negotiate, check on yours render cows. And so let's go ahead right here, just show my render cows so you can see. Be sure your render cows is set on correct port. Okay, so just verify on your port for your render cows everything. This is one negotiation. And next, firewall, be sure it doesn't block by the firewall communications between your render node and your master node. Okay, so let me go ahead and cancel this. The also cancel sometimes may take a little bit longer, and reason is why, because it's negotiating. It's actually already done, but it's normal negotiating with your nodes. So it's send cancellation before. If you remember with older versions, sometimes you have a problem, you cancel exit from your operation, but the renders nodes still kind of lock. They're not truly unlock, they're still processing information, and they won't stop on the middle, so they will take time till they stop. Right now it's actually will send and will kill operation on them, which is actually work much smarter and flexibility, more responsive now to network rendering. Okay, this was for the render cows. And if you have it more look more kind of information you needed about network rendering and other things, please contact us directly at the GeekAtPlay.com. Again, thank you for watching this tutorial. Please remember, visit us on the web is www.geekatplay.com.